What's going on, everybody? In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to shoot photos in manual mode. This video is going to be for somebody who is shooting in auto and just wants to get to where they can shoot in manual mode. This is going to be a brief explanation, but I hope that it's helpful getting you started shooting manual mode. So your first step is going to be to switch your camera into manual mode. You'll see at the top of the Canon T3i right here that I have, it's in auto, and this mode selection dial right here has a lot of different choices. It looks like a bunch of stuff that's confusing, but really there's only a few of these that I use. This may look different on your camera, but just figure out how to get it into manual mode. So I've switched it over to manual mode with that mode selection dial up top, putting it on M right there. So step 2, manual mode is all about three things: shutter speed, which is that number right there, aperture, which is that number right there, and then ISO. So together they control how bright or dark your photo is overall. So let's talk about shutter speed. Shutter speed controls how long the camera's sensor is exposed to light. A fast speed like 1/500 is going to freeze the motion in your photo. So if you're shooting sports or you're shooting something that's moving fast and you want to capture it, you're going to run a faster shutter speed. A slower shutter speed like 1/30, and how you change it is just with the dial right here on the front of the camera. A 1/30th shutter speed is going to look really blurry because the shutter speed is going to take longer to capture that photo. Handheld, most of the time I don't go under 160, and for a majority of my photos I shoot 1/125th. That's a pretty good place to start. And then aperture, the next number over, the f3.5 number, that is how open your lens is. A lower f number like f2.8 gives you a nice blurry background, but it also lets in more light and there's less area that's in focus. A higher number like f11 keeps more of the scene in focus, but it's going to allow in less light. So if you're dealing with a dark situation, you're going to want a lower aperture number or a bigger opening. But to change that on your camera, on this Canon T3i, I just hold down this AV button right here and then use that dial on the front of the camera, and that allows me to close it down or open it up. Normally I try to stick around f4 for most of my photography. That normally gives you a nice image with what you want in focus and still a little bit of a blurry background. And let's talk about ISO. That is the sensor's sensitivity to light. For this camera, it's an old camera. I think it came out in 2011. You're going to want to keep it as low as possible. The higher you go with your ISO, the noisier or the worse your photos are going to look. So keep it as low as possible. I normally don't go over 400 for any photography with this camera. A newer camera, you can get away with a little bit higher ISO, but the lower the ISO number, the less sensitive to the light your camera is going to be. If you're shooting during the day, have a lot of light, ISO 100 is going to be where you're going to go. If you're shooting indoors, you might have to go up to ISO 400 or even higher. These cameras don't do so hot with higher ISOs though, so keep that as low as possible. Okay, so I switched over to my live view. This is what your live view on your camera is going to look like. You access that by pressing this button right here. That cut that off. That cut the live view back on. Most of the time you're going to want to shoot through the viewfinder, which is the little glass on the back of your screen. But with a live view camera, that will allow you to kind of see your exposure before you take the photo. So think of your ISO, shutter speed, and aperture as a seesaw. You'll see on the histogram there that it's over towards the left. That means the exposure's a little bit dark. And if I have pressed the shutter, you'll see right here on this exposure indication that it's one stop under. So I can either slow my shutter speed down to raise that exposure or open the aperture up, or I could raise the ISO to make it brighter. You're going to want to try to keep that exposure indicator right in the middle. That's going to give you the best exposure. And then the next step is just to practice. Take a few shots, learn what it looks like, learn what a proper exposure looks like when you're looking through the viewfinder and also on the live view. But that is in a nutshell how to shoot manual with a Canon T3i. This is going to work for most Canon Rebels also. Hope you found this video useful. I'll see you guys later.